From external tools being developed for Hytale to an in-depth look at server listing and more. Don't miss out on the latest for Hycast, starting right now.
Hello everyone and welcome to Hycast, the premier Hytale podcast. I'm your host Fezzi, and today we're joined by Tlokuus from Hytale Serverlobby.io. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me on the Hycast.
Yeah, so could you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are within the Hytale community?
So obviously I'm a Hytale enthusiast, like I think everyone here. And basically I wanted to contribute to this community, and sadly I'm terrible at drawing. It's a secret. And everything that is artistic I'm really terrible at, and I admire all the Hytale fan art creators, and they're doing incredible work. I wish I had their talents, but it turns out that I have no other talent, I think, which is programming and making websites. So basically my modest contribution to the Hytale community is a platform called Hytale Serverlobby.io. And basically the platform aims at referencing every Hytale server.
Yeah, so let's dive a little bit into Hytale Serverlobby.io. So you're working on a server listing website that is currently known as Hytale Serverlobby. For those who haven't heard about it, give us a little explanation on what it is and what your plans are for it.
Sure. So Serverlobby.io is a platform that sells server owners. So it helps them promote their server. And for Hytale players, it's a way to discover servers, but also to follow news and updates about these servers. So it's meant to be an alternative to the official server browser with more features. So yeah, I think we're gonna talk a little more of detail of the browser later.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So there are also other server listing sites that have kind of appeared throughout the space of Hytale, with many taking inspiration from how server lists look and function within Minecraft. What features are you planning to offer that will entice both players and servers alike into using your service other than the competition's?
So yeah, totally. There are really a lot of server listing websites that have been created, way too many in my opinion. In fact, when I had this idea, I really struggled to find a name for it, for my website, because of the domain name. Almost all domain names containing Hytale and servers were taken back in April 2019. And when you think about it, it's just crazy for a game that we don't know even the release date. So
right.
the first name was Hytale Base Server, recently renamed Hytale Serverlobby.io. So while many of the server listings are just pre-made serverless websites because they are famous for building them instantly, from my part, I wanted to recreate from scratch a server browser and thinking from scratch what players are expecting from a server browser. So for instance, I wanted server owners to be in total control of what their server page looks like. So, because when you're running a server, one of your goals obviously is to attract players, and for that you have to make the player join your server. And a great way for that, I think, is just show players what your server really looks like and what's unique about your server. And yeah, this is even more important with Hytale, which is a highly customizable game. So server will be all different. All server will have exclusive content. And so with Serverlobby.io, they have the opportunity to create their own page that first reflects their server brand. So of course, you can put your server logo, but also a banner, and even pick the color of your page according to your brand. You can add, of course, a presentation text. And more importantly, you can put screenshots because, on the server, you have probably many elements you want to show and emphasize on. You could have a great architecture. You can have unique game modes. You can have a 3D model, fancy 3D models you made on the model maker you have to show. And yeah, you can typically show all of that on the server page. And we also have a section dedicated to server news. So you can show small announcement messages so that if a player come across your server page, he can say, server looks very active. There are many events, there are many announcements, and I want to try that server because it seems to be quite active. So there is also a blog for the news part that treats both Hytale news and news about Hytale community, but more importantly, it's a blog where server admins can once in a while write some posts in that blog and to present some interesting aspect of the server and the news that they want to share.
That sounds really cool. I'm glad that you're giving a lot of creativity to server owners, because the thing is about the Hytale one is I don't know, like the actual built-in Hytale server list is we don't know how much you can do in terms of like the presentation. We know you can probably add some screenshots and a name, but you know, we don't really know much more past that. So it'll be good to see where that leads. And I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
So we touched a little bit earlier on, you know, other Hytale server listings trying to replicate Minecraft server lists. Do you believe there's even a point in trying to replicate Minecraft server lists, or should owners of listing sites be a bit more creative?
I think there is totally no point trying to replicate Minecraft server lists in Hytale. But because the reasons Minecraft server lists were useful is because you know, there is no other way in Minecraft to discover servers. There are no built-in server lists in the game. So this all these listing websites are useful, but they are inconvenient because most of them has been thought to be profitable. So either they value big servers, which have many votes, or servers who have paid for sponsored slots. And yeah, this model is basically bad because you end up with server pushing their players hard to vote on multiple sites every day, and you make big servers become even bigger because and otherwise small servers are struggling to establish themselves. And I think Hypixel Studios perfectly understood that, and that's why they decided at the first place to make server browser built-in into the game. Honestly, I think that's good news because there is hope for a better balancing between servers, not having only a few big servers and large amount of small servers that will stay unknown. And also, it's making obsolete all these old-fashioned server listings that we know in Minecraft and that were not very helpful.
That's a completely fair point. Yeah, I think I really do hope that you know, the in-game server host or the in-game server listing kind of promotes smaller servers, because like you said, it's more of a ranking system than a promotional platform. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
It's good that you're considering that, because if they don't, then that is a wonderful use for Serverlobby, for example. Because I mean, there's a lot of people in the community I think have the argument for like not hosting a server listing platform, but if it's an improvement on the current one, I think there's a perfectly good place for it. So it's gonna be interesting to see where all that lands. But moving on, one of the features your website offers is the ability for server owners to write blogs, like you touched on a little bit earlier, that are then easily accessible to all users of the platform. What value do you believe this feature brings, not just to servers on your website, but also players?
So yeah, basically the blog relies on the idea that servers come in and keep evolving. So myself, I've been a lead developer in a mid-sized Minecraft server, and there is something that really left a mark on me, is that servers are really living things. So not only you have the staff that bring vitality and energy in the server by improving constantly the server and the game modes, but you have also some vitality which is brought mostly by the community and the players themselves. So as a lead dev on the Minecraft server, almost every day I was receiving messages from players who either wanted to, I don't know, start a project or get involved in the server in different manners. They wanted to organize events, submit new ideas, and even though there is not in the server stuff. And for me, that was totally insane. So my point is that servers, when they reach a certain size, are constantly evolving, and there is constantly stuff happening, and there is a lot to say about them and a lot of stories to tell. This is why I decided to make a blog on serverlobby.io to give the opportunity to server owners to tell those stories about their servers. And For players, it's an additional help to choose a server, of course. If you're looking for a role-play server, you can just read 2 or 3 blog posts about role-play servers, and you read a blog post, you can say, oh, this one has an advanced guild system. It looks cool, and I want to try it. So this is the approach behind the blog. And yeah, I think this approach is really better compared to the old-style Minecraft server list, because on those lists, you just got a table on 20 servers per page, each one with a flashing GIF banner. And so that doesn't tell you anything about the server. So I think the blog approach is better. And yeah, there is already a few great server presentations about Tolendale, Hytale, and another D&D server. So I encourage everyone to read them.
I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about the information side of things, because that is a good point. I actually haven't heard that perspective really on people like mentioning that the Minecraft server listing sites kind of just look like fish in a can. They're all just like stuffed together. They're in the exact same spot, and you can't really get any information. They have that flashing GIF banner, like you mentioned, that just says like Sky Wars, Bed War. It's exactly. Really generic.
You are forced to try every server because you don't really know what is unique about each server.
Right. So I'm glad to hear that. That I think that's going to be really cool. Honestly, is being able to kind of look at what the server has to offer. Exactly, like you can get a really good idea from blog posts. So I think that's going to be a really, really good feature. So moving along, we know Hytale has a built-in server list, obviously, which means external server lists like Serverlobby.io need to be worthwhile for the community to gain any real traffic. With this in mind, do you believe Hytale server lists will evolve to be more community-centered as a whole, and what do you expect will come with this transition?
Well, server list owners need to keep in mind that if the built-in Hytale server browser is good enough, which I hope, probably, let's say 95% of Hytale players will never look for Hytale servers on the web. They'll just use the built-in browser, and that's perfectly fine because it's the easier way. So, and since this is something that was really missing in Minecraft. So before even talking about transition of these websites, I think that the large majority will just be discontinued before Hytale release, because every player is just gonna use the built-in browser, or almost. And for the remaining ones, the few websites that will survive, I don't know. They will surely need to evolve one way or another, but it's up to them to find out what extras they could bring compared to the built-in server browser.
Right. That's fair. Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's going to be much more of like you have to kind of innovate on top of what Hytale's done in order to really stand out and make people want to go to the serverless site.
Exactly.
Like you said, it's going to be hard for people to pull traffic away from just the game's built-in browser. So, if you innovate on top of it, if you make it better, then I think you got a good chance. And that's my perspective on it. So, kind of moving on a little bit here, Hytale's official server browser, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Hytale's built-in server browser, like all the others, will need a way to organize servers based on some sort of rating or approval system. So do you think voting will still be used to classify servers in Hytale, and what do you believe will be the best way to rank servers?
Let's speak frankly, voting is a terrible way of ranking servers. It's just like ranking servers by how much players they have, and it has nothing to do with how good an original server is. So for Serverlobby.io, I developed a custom metric that will be basically a score of out 100. And the score will take into consideration about 15 criteria. So I won't disclose all the magic formula and working details, but basically I will give an insight. So for that score, we want to quantify how great a server is in different aspects. So this aspect could be originality of game mode. It could be performance. Is the server have a great uptime? And it could also be how involved the community is, etc., etc. And there are 15 of those criteria. And the way we're gonna rate all these criteria is basically asking several players a bunch of questions and that will be dependent of the type of server. So for that system, I've been inspired a lot by what Google Maps is doing. Now, I think almost everyone is using Google Maps, but if you don't, you may have not. Basically, when you visit some place, let's say a restaurant, the app will notice it and it will ask you relevant questions, such as, is this place adapted for families? Or is this restaurant making good burgers?
Right.
And all those answers are then combined and used to adapt both the ranking of the places from a global point of view, but also to make personal recommendations to users based on what they are looking for and what they may like. And basically, we aim at doing the same thing, but for Hytale servers, and identify strengths and weaknesses of all servers, and then compute a score. And also reply accurately to player queries from all the information we can get from these questions. So now you talk about voting. To be honest, though voting is terrible, we won't removing voting system of the website for the simple reason that we need it, because it has the advantages of bringing daily traffic to the website. But voting will be only one of the 15 criteria, so I will ensure that it have really a small impact on the server scores.
So this sounds pretty good. This sounds like it's a system that has a lot of different criteria and qualifiers that will judge a server's ranking on a list, which is good because, like you said, a voting system is basically just whatever server's popular, regardless of quality, will just be on top. So do you think Hytale will decide to implement something similar to this?
This is a good question. So I think the Hycast server browser will be kept simple and functional. I'm pretty confident they won't use a voting system for fairness reasons, as we just said. And I'm not even sure they will have a ranking system, because on the concept image that they published a long time ago, we don't even see any kind of review or rating component. So I don't really know. So I'm curious to see what it will look like. But yeah, I think from the screenshot that it will be kept simple and neutral. So maybe it will just be an unordered list, which you can then sort yourself by basic criteria, such as number of players, recent popularity, maybe available game modes. That being said, as we said, that won't help small servers. So I'm curious to see if they are planning to address this issue and how they will address it.
Yeah, I am too. That is an interesting thing to bring up, because we don't really know how the ranking system is going to work in its entirety yet. So we know that Hytale servers, at least the bigger ones, will be actively moderated and have to follow lightweight terms of service. Maybe not something quite as strict as the EULA, but they will have a set of rules that they have to look out for. So how do you expect these terms and failing to comply with them will affect your ranking on the list?
Yeah, so I think Hytale Dev ambition is to build an open game, so term of services will likely be very, very permissive. And the only thing that will be forbidden are just actions that are either harming the Hytale game and its reputation, or harming players, so like scamming, discrimination, and things like that.
Right.
So obviously there should be zero tolerance for such practices. Now, depending on the nature of the fault, maybe they will give the server 1 or 2 warnings, but then after that, I think they will just simply ban the server from the official Hytale browser. That will be more likely.
That makes sense. I think a while back, and I think this might have been at a convention that they attended that I can't even remember the name of, but I think I remember them listing like 3 different tiers of server, based on color, in terms of where it is, like in terms of, I guess, TOS or whatever you'd call it. I know that there's like white and black servers or something like that. White, gray, and black. White servers are, I think, perfectly clean servers that, are completely in line with their views, I guess. Gray servers, I think, are somewhere in the middle, and black servers are kind of like maybe like a pay to win system or something that they don't really agree with. I don't exactly remember how they explained it fully, but, and I might have my colors wrong as well. I'm just going off of like vague memory here.
Okay, I will check because I didn't read that at all. You're learning me something.
Yeah, I think that's going to play a role, but I don't know if that's actually based on like terms of service or more on like monetization systems, because I know that Hytale, I don't think, likes the idea of like pay to win or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that system works within the server list, because if you can get banned from the server list, you know, like what problems need to be occurring. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Now, building on the whole previous statement that you made, do you believe that developers will go as far as shutting down a server if it is deemed as completely unacceptable, or do you think they will simply remove the server from the official listing?
Shutting down a server from a technical perspective is difficult, because yeah, the way they will do it is basically keep an updated blacklist of server IPs and make a check in the game before attempting to joining a server, see if the server is banned. But yeah, this is unlikely because one, this hasn't been done before, and I think this could be perceived by player as some kind of liberty restrictions. And also, from the technical point of view, banning server just have to get another IP, and yeah, you basically counter the blacklist. So this is, I don't think this is really feasible, especially the huge number of servers are gonna be to watch. So
that's a fair point. I mean, it's kind of like ban evading on Minecraft. Like all you have to do is switch up what the server thinks you're sitting at, and it'll work. So it'd probably be too much to handle. It'd probably take too many resources to moderate. So I don't think it'll personally really be a thing either, like banning, not blacklisting, banning. But it'll be interesting to see if they remove servers from server lists based on what criteria they fall in. So anyway, moving on a little bit, there's a large number of people interested in server development for Hytale, meaning that it's likely to have a lot of community-made custom game servers. So since moderating the contents of thousands of servers on a regular basis may not really be possible, do you expect there to be any minimum requirements for a server to be officially listed in the game?
This is unlikely because again, they want their game probably to be truly open. And to be open, they just have to give everyone the opportunity to build their server and without constraints. So I think you just should be able to get your server reference on their list without any prior verifications. The way I see moderation to be done is by players themselves. Just like every big platform like YouTube, you know, you have a report button to report a video, but you will probably have a report button on every server page to report the server that violates the term of contract. And then the Hytale staff will take the appropriate action afterwards. But I don't think they will do the checking themselves at every server creation. That takes too much time for them.
Right, I 100% agree with that. So we all know that Hytale will allow you to sort and filter the types of games you'd like to play. Do you believe the developers will implement a machine learning AI or something along those lines that will automatically find servers similar to what you've played, kind of like the recommended tab on YouTube? So something, you know, like that, or really any website has a recommended tab. So do you think they have something like that built into the server list that's based on interests?
Yeah, why not? It's sure that they will have the potential to do that because they will basically have a lot of data. They will know which players are playing on which servers, so it is totally feasible to calculate, you know, some kind of proximity score between two servers. And yeah, from that you can build a recommendation system. I don't know if they will go that far, but this is definitely a possibility. So in case they don't, this will probably a direction I will personally explore for Serverlobby.io, because I have some AI and machine learning background with my students, and I'm really curious about what AI could bring for game server discovery. So yeah, we'll see.
You know, that's actually an interesting conversation point, is where that could lead, because that's never been done before, I don't think, in really a game server list that I've ever seen. Personally, I don't think it's ever really happened. That's a really interesting thought, like based base a server listing for a game off of like your server history, your interests. That could be really kind of cool to make a really good tailored experience for yourself, and that could help Hytale in the long run.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people
The
will
real-
just have more. Go ahead.
Yeah, the real challenge, building some kind of systems is not really hard, but the real challenge is to have the data. And because
Right.
with the data, you can just understand what are the specificities of each servers. So it's sure that if anyone can do it better than the others, it's Hypixel Studios themselves, because they will have the data and the others don't. So.
Oh yeah, and I think it'll make Hytale kind of better as a whole place, because obviously the community made content's going to be essential to the game's success, just like Minecraft. So having that tailored experience, I think, is going to really help the game's longevity, because you're going to be more likely to play a server you like than rather than just some random one that you don't like. And it can add variety as well. That's another thing that kind of will counter the idea of one server just kind of towering over the others, because you'll be more likely to find other servers. So that is going to be really cool to see. Anyway, moving on a little bit, we're going to be talking a little bit about Hytale modding and external tools. So the Hytale team have slated many times that they have wanted to make modding as easy as they can for new people wanting to try out mod making. But as we all know, modding is not an easy process, especially for newcomers. So with the team's plan of accessibility in mind, how difficult do you think modding will be for people who haven't coded before? And what do you think could be done to help new modders learn coding? And should Hypixel Studios take initiative with mod making tutorials for guides for Hytale?
So for the difficulty issue, I think the way they're gonna address it is by providing at least two ways of creating mods. And in fact, we already know that there will be two kind of modding. There will be like baby modding, which is in-game scripting, and it is very likely that it will be very accessible with zero prior knowledge of programming. And obviously, you won't be able to do very complex things with in-game modding, in-game scripting. But yeah, still, I think that will be more than sufficient for, let's say, young content creators and beginners to get familiar with the game mechanics and express their imagination. And yeah, they could totally create fun mods with that. Now for advanced modding, I think you don't have other choice than to learn an object-oriented programming language like Java.
Right.
So, in fact, it will be Java. Hypixel Studios want to help you with that. It shows you have to learn Java on your own. But what they will likely do is releasing tutorials, as you said, and good documentation about the different APIs and the game mechanisms, which is great, and because it is totally the opposite of what Mojang does with Minecraft. So, yeah.
Right. Minecraft is definitely much more of like a hurdle, because you just kind of have to have prior knowledge of this kind of thing before even walking in. With Hytale, I think you can kind of ease yourself into that to that kind of modding. You know what I mean? Like, you can start with the, like you said, kind of the more rudimental in-game kind of mechanic stuff that you can change in like the different, like the model maker and stuff like that, and experiment with different things. But you can kind of transition easier from that into, say, creating something that's completely made out of a language. And that'll be interesting to see, because that would mean that there's going to be a lot more experiences that are way more like well done than Minecraft. And it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, and I think Hytale is a great opportunity, for people interested in computer science in general to learn a programming language. And it's really fun, the motivation. And myself, when Minecraft was my motivation to learn Java. So basically, building fun things can actually help you learn new skills. So that's great.
Exactly. So while Hytale promises a lot of freedom and easy moddability, not everything will be moddable, and some limits must be established. So where do you think the Hytale team will draw the line for mod developers?
So if you recall the trailer, there is a part where you see a 2D RTS-like scene with a top view camera. I don't know if you see it.
Right. Yeah. No, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you see it, basically, that you're freaking, what the fuck? Is this even the same game? Because yeah, you know, all the other game is 3D and you have this scene. So I honestly don't know where the line will be, because if they really deliver what is in the trailer, then the line have already been put further than what I would think to be possible for a game.
Right.
Obviously, there will be limits that are imposed by the different game core components. I think there will be two kind of limits. You will have the limit of capability of the game. So if we take a recent example, they presented in their blog post their updated ambient sound system.
Yeah.
And so the system works the way it works. So we'll be obviously able to add your own ambient sounds to the game and set what triggers every sound. But you know, you won't be able to change how the core sound engine works, and you will have to adapt to its limitation. So
Right.
that's the first type of limits. And there's also performance limits that also impact modding, because for instance, you can have a limit of the number of entity you can spawn, which could have an impact of the game you're building. Because once you reach that limit of entities, you will see that the game may slow down, because that's the case with Minecraft, and that's a terrible limitation of Minecraft, both client of server side. So I really hope that the optimization work that the team is doing on Hytale will push this performance limit way further, because only that will really expand a lot the modding capabilities.
Right. And Minecraft, that is a fair point. And I think the big difference is going to be, because this is a new engine, the kind of the I think the limit that modders can go is basically where the engine can. If you break the engine, that's where you got to stop. If you slow it down, that's where you got to stop. But otherwise, I think it's going to be a pretty customizable experience, because I mean, I've mentioned this plenty of times before. With Minecraft, you've got to make so many caveats for things. Like, you know, an in-game menu has to be a chest, you know, and it's just ridiculous. And I think with Hytale, I mean, considering they're making everything, you know, possibly, like, they're making this car like with a hood, you know what I mean? Like, you can get in there and you can mess with things, whereas Hytale you can't. Or with Minecraft you can't. It's well, you can, but it's not easy. It's just it's going to be a totally different experience, I think, and I think it's something to look forward to. It's definitely going to be way better than Minecraft. So
yeah,
moving
sure.
on, due to the oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say that Minecraft hasn't been thought at all for modding. That was
Right.
totally unexpected from Notch at its beginning. So yeah, it's perfectly normal that Hytale will be a better modding game.
Exactly. So, due to the nature of voxel-based sandbox games, it's common to see a variety of very custom external tools developed by the community. What tools do you expect to be developed by the community for Hytale, and what do you expect to be most popular?
So it's hard to say right now, because Hytale ambition is, you know, put everything creators will ever need built into the game. So for a tool to exist, there needs to be some kind of gap or something missing to the game, and that tool will basically address that miss. And so that's the reason why tools such as MC edits were very popular in Minecraft, because you didn't have other options to do batch edits right into the game. So
Right.
if Hytale developers are successful at anticipating everything creators will need, then I don't think there will be a lot of third-party tools. However, I think there will be a lot of plugins for the official tools. For instance, I'm thinking of plugins for the Hytale model maker that I don't know could help prototyping models faster and letting you use assets external assets made by the community that you could import right into the software and put them in your models. So yeah, and another tools I see is come from the mini games. So we know Hytale will have a lot of mini games, and I hope there will be some tools for mini games developer to quickly test mini games, because basically with Minecraft, if you're developing a mini games for 10 players, you have to just open 10 instances of Minecraft, and that's really not practical, and you have to have a beast computer to handle that. So I think they will have I hope they will have some kind of tool to have bot or fake players that will help developing mini games. Yeah, so that would be another tool idea for the community to maybe craft it.
That's actually a really great point that I haven't heard brought up before, is with server testing, will there be bots? Because you're right in that it's really annoying that you either have to get 10 people to spend their time out of their day to test a mini game and then worm out the bugs and make sure you test everything. It'd be much easier to just have an AI run through it, play it, and find all the issues with the map or whatever. And I've never heard that before. That's a great thing to bring up, because that's definitely going to be important for server testing. Is that it's just really annoying with Minecraft. I know, because Horizon, which is the team I used to be with, or I'm still with, but it's Hytale isn't coming out for a year, so it's been kind of put on hiatus. We had, when we were testing some game mode ideas, we kind of couldn't, because our team was too small to fill the game, so we kind of had to stress test with my chat on YouTube and just hope that things worked. And when they didn't, there was kind of nothing we could do about it because there was a stream happening. So it's definitely going to be really cool to see if bots or fake players are introduced to the game. Also, I think the tools that we'll see, kind of like how you said, will just be like quality of life improvement stuff that kind of make things run faster. Maybe there's this setting somewhere that's a little annoying to handle, so there's a mod out there that makes it more accessible, or a plugin or something. I don't think there's going to be a ton, because it seems like the whole point of Hytale was kind of like this evolutionary step from Minecraft, even though it's not, I'm not saying it is Minecraft, but it's the next step for that genre, obviously. So I think most of the quality of life that we're missing in Minecraft will be a thing in Hytale. And I think it's going to be amazing to see how far that stretches. And I don't know how much the community is really going to need to do. I guess we'll just have to wait and see whenever it comes by. So with all that said, that's all the questions we had for you today. If there's anything else you would like to say, socials, feel free to do so now.
Sure. So obviously I'm inviting all of you to visit serverlobby.io. There are already 25 server projects registered on the platform with every playstyle represented. Some server projects are at a very advanced stage, like Tlokuus or Hytale that you already know, and there are even more servers to take a look from, so just go on the website. And I would add also, don't forget to join our Discord, where you can discuss with most of the server admins. Join the server staff if you're interested in, because almost all servers are actively looking for staff. And also, obviously, give feedback about the Serverlobby platform. Tell me what you think about it. And yeah, that's pretty much all. Thank you for having me today.
It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for joining us today. It's really cool seeing the perspectives from all the different community leaders out there, because there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't bring up in just normal kind of community talks. It's cool to see different issues that might come up within the game's lifetime be discussed, because these are things we're going to run into eventually. So really cool stuff. Make sure to follow Tlokuus on Twitter. All of their links will be in the description below. Thank you for tuning into this week's podcast, and consider subscribing if you would like to hear more. This has been your host, Fezzy, and we'll see you here next time.
This video was sponsored by Virtual Gladiators. Virtual Gladiators have everything you need to make your very own Minecraft or Hytale server. Click the link in the description to find out more.